What it do? Yo man, listen. Today, I'm going to be asking a very loaded question. And that question is chaos designed to be bad? Let's get right into the video. So first things first, I want to establish something before I engage the video. To me, it's very clear that people designing Tacticus know the tabletop very well. They clearly have an extensive understanding of 8th, 9th, and 10th edition. They've clearly, at least some of them, been clearly playing the tabletop for years at this point. Character after character, the reason I'm able to predict characters as well as I do, it's because I just look at the tabletop and think to myself, oh, what's the character identity for this character over the past 6 years? And Snowprint matches the predictions because they know what they're doing. Karn the Betrayer, his current datasheet from 10th edition, it doesn't match his character identity from 9th and 8th edition. So I was, concerned that the Snowprint wouldn't get him right. However, they proved me wrong, and we got a really cool character that combines elements from 8th, 9th, and 10th editions. So Snowprint, they clearly know what they're doing, and I have full faith in their ability to translate characters from tabletop to Tacticus. However, this raises the question, why are Chaos characters so unnecessarily bad? The example I want to give, I have two examples for you. First one is Abaddon and Shadowsun. They're both legendary characters. They're both faction leader for their characters. They have very similar passives. Both of their passives boil down to buff stuff that's not your faction, but can also buff your faction, and give +1 to hit to your own faction. However, or rather, conditional. However, there is one very important difference between these two characters. Both of their +500 damage passives, they have a condition. The condition for Shadowsun is that she only buffs outgoing shooting, range damage. Now, this makes sense, Tao's a shooting faction. But she can buff Chaos shooting, she can buff Imperium shooting, she can buff Xenos shooting. Abaddon, on the other hand, he exclusively buffs Chaos units. So if you put Revas or Ragnar next to him, this guy's going to be useless. He's not going to buff them. So I wonder, why is there a limitation on Chaos and not other factions? The second example is Ascor and Calgar. Now, Ascor has a lot of hoops you have to jump through with his passive. You have to get hit 8 times, and then you have to kill something, which lets you stack Beacon of Rage up to 8 times, and then you give help the damage to an adjacent Chaos unit in melee. Calgar gives 900 damage to everything, but he incentivizes you to use Imperial units because he has a 1300 damage buff instead of a 900 damage buff. So these characters, when they're in ideal conditions, whereas ideal conditions for Calgar is just standing next to him, they buff the faction they want to buff by 1300. However, Ascor has to jump through 1 billion hoops to the point where Calgar is a better buffer for Karn than Ascor. You might say to yourselves, you might be saying, oh, but Draupnir, that's not a good point. Calgar only buffs the 4 hits, whereas Ascor buffs all 12 hits. And you would be right if you could point out to a guild raid scenario where you could realistically get hit 8 times by Ascor in a reasonably fast manner, so you get the 1300 as fast as possible. Like, I can bring Ascor against the Screamer Killer and jump through hoops to stack his buff so Karn gets buffed slightly better. Or I can just bring Calgar, where sure he'll give a little bit less damage, but I don't have to jump through 1 million hoops. And Ascor only works with Chaos characters, and there's only one guild raid viable Chaos character in melee, that's Karn. whereas Calgar buffs shooting, he buffs melee, and he buffs it for Chaos, Xenos, and Imperium. Now I understand Ascor is a world leader, he is supposed to be the melee faction, so I'm not too, sad about him only buffing melee attacks, it's only appropriate, but I am frustrated by the fact that he only buffs Chaos characters. It seems that Snowprint are making a conscious effort to make it so Chaos buffers only buff Chaos characters, whereas Xenos and Imperium, they buff everything in the game. However, they buff their own factions better. Chaos only buffs their faction, but because their buffers are simply not good, they don't even do that right. So you're left at a point where Imperium and Xenos buffers are better for Chaos characters than Chaos buffers. Now, I'm not accusing Snowprint of like, oh, Snowprint hates Chaos characters, Snowprint has, no, like that's a very silly concept. It makes no sense. Snowprint can make amazing Chaos characters, such as Ahriman and Karn the Betrayer. I think these are some of the best designed characters in the game. But the fact that characters like Karn exist, they tell me Chaos buffers sucking is intentional, which makes me wonder, is Snowprint abiding by the lore and saying, oh, Chaos doesn't work with people? I get that, where Imperium and Xenos, they work with each other, sure. I get that, but I wonder if, this is a design choice or some other reason, or perhaps these will be too strong, or perhaps they're artifacts of an ancient time, like 2 years ago at this point, right? Abaddon is a very old character. I just wonder why this is the case. And, the point of this video isn't to like answer the question. It's just, something I notice and it makes me wonder. Anyways, Bloody Rose Discord server, link in the description. You should join. I have my own chat. It's a cool place. Thank you very much for watching the video. Special thanks to Dieselfox, Papa John, Lethal Llama, Sarp, Heartswept, Escleon, Yeris, Bruce McSloop, Proson, Infinite Power, and use Alt F4 for entering my referral code. I genuinely appreciate it. It's in the middle of the screen if you want to enter it. It supports the channel greatly, and I truly appreciate it. If you don't, that's fine, not the end of the world. Once again, thank you very much for watching. Have a good day, and stay safe.